The next keynote speech is reserved for the platinum partners of this year's conference who have significantly contributed to achieving everything we envisioned. This is another milestone in our long-standing collaboration, and we hope there will be many more. Prepare to embark on Bosch's transformative journey toward becoming a data-driven enterprise with Rainer Metje, Vice President, Data and Integration Platforms at Bosch Digital, and Wolfgang Klein, Director of Data as a Service and Data Lakes at Bosch. Rainer spearheads Bosch Digital's units responsible for delivering digital products, platforms, and services, leveraging over 25 years of experience in IT, including roles at SAP and Bosch. His expertise lies in enterprise architecture, data strategy, and fostering digital transformation by driving innovations in data, integration, automation, and cloud. Wolfgang Klein brings an extensive background in data and analytics, starting from industrial engineering studies to his pivotal roles at Bosch Rexroth, and now leading the charge in maximizing the value of data for Bosch. With a team of more than 120 associates, Wolfgang ensures the technology foundation for Bosch's data mesh, facilitating near real-time data access for over 40,000 users globally. So, Wolfgang and Rainer, please welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Yeah, very warm welcome. I guess you can hear me. Thanks for the introduction, and happy to having us here in Belgrade. So we will talk basically about three topics today. First thing is about what does a digital transformation and also a transformation towards a data-driven enterprise means for a huge organization like Bosch. Second, we will touch a very important topic in our organization that besides technology, there's a lot of more to be successful in the age of data-driven and digital. So that's the cultural part. And third, last but not least, so Wolfgang will elaborate. So what does it mean to the journey of data? So how do we implement? How do we enable data within our organization? And yeah, happy to give you a short glimpse about what we do at Bosch. But before we start, let's have a short look on a video. Should basically start. So decoding tomorrow, what does it mean? So you have seen a glimpse overview about the product portfolio that we offer as a company. And it also shows that besides the hardware stuff that we sell for a couple of decades, I would say, so the company is meanwhile more than 135 years old. Not only the hardware stuff, but it's really driving to a software technology stack that we have to deliver for our products and services. And this is divided into different business sectors within our organization. So we have basically 4 different business sectors where we do business with our customers. Starting from the left-hand side, that's the mobility solution, that's the biggest part of Bosch. And also to give you just a couple of facts and figures, we have more than 44,000 software developers inside Bosch. split it across the different units. Obviously, a huge part of that is part of the embedded IT, so for vehicles, for software-defined vehicles. We have new topics like autonomous driving. We also have use cases for convenience charging, for example. So it shows that Bosch is heavily turning from a well-known manufacturer into a really software-driven and data-driven company. And this is really a huge transformation that we have, also from dealing with old technologies, but also with really new technology and what we see later on also in the presentation. So we are organized around the globe. So in Serbia we have roughly about 4,000 to 5,000 associates in Serbia. Also a major footprint in Bosch Digital, so that's the IT service provider inside Bosch. And so we are quite happy to be here. So what does digital transformation or digitalization at Bosch really means? We really are impacted by huge transformation, so change is going faster and faster, and you all experience it the whole day. And we have to be ready and adapt these challenges that we have, also based on the Corona pandemic, for example, but also that software is more and more important within our products and services, and we have to adapt ourselves. So also in the way how we work together, how we drive results inside the company, and that is also a very huge cultural change within the organization. So it's not similar, I would say, to a company which is just founded maybe a couple of years back, where you have really a greenfield approach. So we have the history where we are very proud of. On the other side, we have all the new opportunities driven by software and data. And that is what makes us proud to being with Bosch Digital. However, so we rely really on our core values, and just an extract of our values is shown here. When it comes to work like a Bosch, maybe you have also seen some famous videos on YouTube, so live like a Bosch, work like a Bosch. And that's also basically, so what is for our associates very important, that you can grow with the company, so you can really change I would say the task you're doing, the job role you're doing, so there are many capabilities inside the company. On the other side, you can be very flexible in the working environment, and also you can hopefully balance as best as possible your life. So we rely on our values, and that is important even for a long-lasting company like Bosch, to rely on that and to cope with the huge challenges we have. In order to tackle all these challenges when it comes to software and data, so we have basically an internal IT division, so that's Bosch Digital, and we serve our internal customers with this division. We decided in the last year, originally we had two different IT providers inside Bosch, to combine them into a really powerful organization, which is now called Bosch Digital. And we have roughly meanwhile, more than 11,000 associates all over the world, more than roughly about 250 here in Serbia also, so very close to this place where we are. And we are very proud to work in this global environment at Bosch. And what you see that we tackle really with our organization all the interesting stuff. So we have the newest technology on board. We serve our customers internally in order to be successful. And what does it mean to transform? As I said, we have founded this new organization beginning of this year, started last year. And what does it mean to really drive this transformation for an internal service provider? This is somehow shown in the next slide. And as we have done, so I at least have experienced 3 reorganizations within the last couple of years. And we have done a lot of mistakes by that, because we didn't have the holistic view on a reorganization inside the company. And therefore, you said this time, so we have to really drive this transformation and this reorganization very holistically. And therefore, we decided to have a so-called digital target operating model, where we not only draw a new organizational chart and then say, okay, now we are ready and we implement it. But the cultural part is of much more importance to make that successful. Let me pick out some topics. We call it the transformation house inside Bosch. So for example, number 3 talks about structure. So in the past, we usually applied, I would say, one-size-fits-all approach to organization, where we said, okay, let's organize in that way. Meanwhile, we say, no, we need a more adjusted approach. So for example, we implement agile transformation in those areas where we would like to be the most agile that we have to be. In other areas where we have to serve, for example, stable operations, so we operate, for example, the whole SAP platforms inside Bosch, the whole data management platforms, we have to be very efficient. So their agility is maybe not that much needed. And therefore we decided to adjust our structure based on a so-called lean agile matrix, where we really said not one size fits all approach is the right one, but really based on the topics we have to serve. Second, we more and more come, and that's maybe number 7 as an example, we more and more come to the definition of outcomes instead of outputs. That's maybe, so the words are very close, but if you experience the difference, there's a huge difference. So you don't tell what you do, but you really have to define what is the result at the end for the customer. So put the customer into the middle of what you're doing, define what is the benefit and the value for the customer, and then you really can differentiate between the outcomes and the outputs. And that is a journey where we are currently on, so that's what I wanted to point out. So we are really talking about cultural topics. It's not only to put a new organizational chart on the PowerPoint, but really to work with the people, to do an open, transparent communication, and to define all these things that we see here. Maybe the last thing I can mention from this slide is number 2. It's about, so we call that steering and funding. So it's the way how you steer your organization, and we did that basically in the past on a yearly basis, and now we do that more on a quarterly basis, so that we can really adapt fast whenever things are changing. So we have so-called annual business review, where we define the strategy for a year, but then broke it down to quarterly business reviews, where we really try to adapt as much as possible, if needed, and to be flexible for our customers. So bottom line of this is digital transformation for an internal organization can only be possible if you touch that holistically. So, now coming to the, I would say, to the heart of a IT organization, an internal one, so that's basically our digital portfolio. And what you can see here is that we touch basically all interesting and important topics for our customers. On the top left, you can see that we are, or maybe I start the other way around, so we try to standardize and harmonize as much as possible, so to gain efficiencies in the companies, but that is not always reasonable and not also possible, and therefore we have, besides technology foundation and standardized products and services, also solutions in our portfolio, where we say really, depending on the broad variety of our company, we have dedicated solutions, for example, for consumer products customer, or on the other side for mobility. So it's totally different business models behind, and therefore we also need a tailored approach how we provide our products and services. In the heart of that again is data and analytics, but also where I want to spend at least one slide is the topic of integrations and API management platforms. I also listened to the last speakers, and I think I don't counted it, but I think the API word was mentioned very, very often. And I think this is very crucial for standardization, for being efficient, to automate, and also to have the data access, to have a well-defined API strategy within your company. And that is basically the slide I want to share with you. So we have defined an API strategy within our organization a couple of years back. I think it's more or less 5 to 6 years back, where we said, okay, we want to go API first. So every product and service has to have an API, easily accessible. And everyone said, yes, sure, we do that. But then reality is different. So we experienced after a couple of years, and it is illustrated with the Lego bricks, that reality is totally different. Everyone says, okay, we need APIs, but in reality, we have products which don't have an API. Others, they have an API, but they are not standardized, so you cannot use it. Others have APIs, but they are not visible, so they are not transparent. And therefore we said, okay, it's not about the technology, because the technology we have in place for a couple of years. So we have an API management platform, every developer can provide APIs. But we figured out it's, I don't know, roughly 20% of the strategy has paid off. So we don't have enough APIs. So that's basically the bottom line. And therefore we said, again, besides technology, it's important to enable our organization to drive this API strategy. And we decided to invest in that. So we invested into an API enablement initiative. So this is basically the two icons in the middle of the slide on the right side. So on the one hand side, we have the technology again. Then we said, okay, we have to come over this situation that APIs are not implemented, not accessible, and we initiated an initiative where we really touched not the technology, but more the topics of education. So everyone should know, if you talk about API, you mean the same, that you are educated how to develop a standardized API, that we also provide a central marketplace meanwhile for internal consumption, so where it's very easy to provide an API for a developer, but on the other hand also to consume an API. So that's basically, again, a very good example in a huge organization that you cannot only focus on technology, you have also to do the implementation and the rollout, and that always comes with enabling the people, the associates, also the management, because we also have to fight for some funding in order to make that happen. And the payoff is really, so we started with this initiative beginning of this year, and it really pays off already, so that we tackle that, we see that the coverage of APIs is increasing and so on and so forth. And last but not least, APIs are, I would say, the entry door for data. Without well-defined APIs, it's also hard to consume data, and therefore I think it's a good point to give over to Wolfgang, because he will explain a little bit more how we drive the data journey inside our organization, and how then also APIs plays a crucial role in that. Thanks for the time, and over to Wolfgang.
Thank you very much, Rainer. And then let me take over and let me take you on our data journey. And basically, I start with the iceberg. Why I put the iceberg? I mean, in the past, we were just able to look at the tip of the iceberg, the tip of our data. And this is because we had just smaller data sets, not having the comprehensive view, but just smaller data sets covering a particular business domain or particular business division. Also, our tool sets did not allow us to have a deeper look, and just allowed us to have a look at the tip of the data. And this was maybe good for operational steering your daily business in logistics or wherever. But with that approach, obviously, we could not leverage the full potential of your data assets. And now, with today's, first of all, technologies, but also with the available data sets, we are able to look below the surface and get much more value out of the data. And why is that so important that we have that holistic view to our whole data assets? This is because data can be used and is valuable into two directions. First direction, that's probably the direction where we were looking more in the past, is about efficiency. So bring down your costs, optimize your processes, take better decisions. And that's where I still see a lot of potential, but rather the bigger potential I see in the other side, enable business growth. So revenue, generate additional revenue, grow your sales. And that's not only because you probably understand what your customer is demanding in a better way than in the past, but also it's because data is enabling additional and new business models. And some big players in the market have been very successful just because they are leveraging the full potential of the data, like Amazon did, knowing everything about every customer, but also Netflix, taking all the data from user behavior and then tailoring their offering to a specific user. And that made them very, very successful. Now, how to become a data-driven company? Essential for sure is technology. But from my experience, my perspective, much more challenging is the cultural part. Therefore, I would like to talk about data culture. And that's a picture which I experienced a lot of times in the past, that the hippo, so the highest paid person in the room, so the highest paid person's opinion, just decided whether to go for option A or B. And maybe the data says option A, but if the hippo says, okay, I take option B, then we went for option B. And maybe this was because of a lack of data, this was maybe because of poor data quality, or just lack of trust into the data. And I'm very happy to see in Bosch, and probably it's the same in other companies as well, that this is already changing. And we did some internal survey for several years, and this makes me happy to see that more and more the data is taken into the decision process. So now I'm proud to say that the feedback in Bosch is that the majority of major decisions is taken based on data and not just on gut feeling. So which steps are required to come to a data-driven company? And basically, first of all, you need a data strategy. That's what we have created a couple of years back. But then there are several more steps to be done, and the first step is dealing with data transparency. So this is, first of all, having transparency, which data is available, and make that data accessible. This is building up data platforms, consolidating data, and making the data available. But it's much more. So what we did is also dividing our data assets into data domains. This could be purchasing, logistics, finance, whatever. Assigning responsibilities, defining roles, so data domain owners, data stewards, data maintainer groups. And this is very important to generate this level of transparency. The second step is data democratization. So this is about breaking down the data silos. So not saying, hey, the data is mine, I don't share. But it's really sharing data and making data accessible for a broader audience. Very important here is data literacy. So train the people so that they understand which value they can get from the data, and that they can also, that they will be able to use the toolset which we provide. And here also very important, that's referring what Rainer just said, is the APIs. Because data democratization means sharing data, and this is only possible if we have APIs available to share the data across the organization. And this is already leading to the third step. It's about not only seeing data as a value, as an asset, but seeing data really like a product, like a tangible product, which has an owner, which has a description, which has certain specification, that has a certain way how to consume it, and that has a life cycle and maybe even a price. And that gives automatically a certain value to the data. So how does it look in our case? And basically that's also telling the personal story which I encountered during my time at Bosch. So I started at Bosch 15 years ago. And at these days, we were at the stage I would call it data 1.0. Having local databases everywhere. Every plant, every regional organization, every business division, every headquarter department, everywhere they had their single, non-standardized databases based on all different kind of technologies. And basically, I was also responsible for some of those databases. And every database just had data for a single purpose. And whenever the business demanded for a more comprehensive view, I mean, what we did, creating some more databases, consolidating the data, and this obviously was a hell of effort and was generating a hell of interfaces. So this was becoming a real nightmare. That's where we decided to go for the next step. So we went for data lakes. So coming from a non-standardized, non-centralized world, we went to data 2.0, establishing data lakes, centralized and very much standardized. This provided the holistic view on our data assets across the whole company, across all business divisions, across all business domains, just Bosch worldwide. This was really a major step forward, but over the time it was so successful that the number of users, the number of business entities using the data lakes were growing like anything, and every demand was coming to our central team. And at a certain point of time, I mean, we were growing like anything, but we just could not handle all the requests. And that's when we said, okay, we have to change again something, and that's when we started moving towards data 3.0. So we looked at the market, and basically we went to a data mesh. We established the Bosch data mesh. It's now called RED Mesh, Robert Bosch Enterprise Data Mesh. And basically we implemented all the principles as defined by Jean-Marc Degani. And this is about a federated governance, so that it's not everything is defined by us as a central team, but it's defined by the business domains with a governance board and a set of rules, just a very minimum set of rules to ensuring interoperability. Because what means a data mesh? At the end, the number of platforms is growing again, but not in a chaotic way, but in a well-steered way. And the key principle here is to make sure that the data can be exchanged between the data platforms, so interoperability is key. That's why we need the federated governance. Basically, to avoid that we are the bottleneck from a central team, we have changed our platforms towards the self-serve platforms. So we are providing a set of services, a set of interfaces, and a set of enabling services. But at the end, we are just operating, let's say, just operating the central data platforms and providing data and services to the organization. Very important, I mentioned this already earlier, is the data domain ownership. So that each data object is assigned to a certain data domain. The data domain owners are responsible over the life cycle of the data domain and defining data products, modeling data objects, and so on. That's what's leading us towards data as a product. From a technical front, we have all kinds of platforms. So the biggest platform which we have is based on an Oracle database, Oracle Data Exadata. We also have Hadoop, we have SQL servers, and since a couple of years, we are moving also heavily towards the Azure cloud. On top, we have the data domains and the products, and then the upper layer is the data analytics platforms where our consumers just consume our data, like using Tableau, Microsoft Power BI, SAC, or whatever they want. And I'm really proud to say that our data platforms have more than 800 terabytes of data. And that includes more than 36,000 of tables. And all these tables are refreshed, replicated every 2 minutes. And this is really the big advantage which we provide to the organization, getting near real-time access to almost all the company's data. And the feedback from our users is that they're really fast, especially for ad hoc use cases. They state that they are 60% faster than before. And we are really successful with that approach. And what really makes me proud is that the data consumption has almost tripled since the beginning of this year. How does it look from a high-level architecture perspective? And here I would mainly emphasize on that API topic. So on top we have the source systems, mainly all the ERP system. It's a triple-digit number of ERP systems which we are connecting. Then we have the self-service data platforms where we're building data pipelines, where we store the data, where we ensure compliance, where we also implement access control. And then on top, domain-wise, the data products are implemented by the domain-specific teams according to the domain-specific requirements. And domains are the business divisions like automotive, power tools, household applications, and others, but also all the core processes of our company. And there's also sustainability as a new domain, and that's one of the highlight examples which I would show you on the next slide. But just to mention, the APIs here are the key to exchange the data, the model data, the high-value data between the data products of different domains, and then also provide the access to our consumers. Now let's have a look to the sustainability data. So first of all, there was a business trigger. It's the CSRD, the European Law for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. And this directive says that every major company has to report a certain set of KPIs by 2025 and include these KPIs into our external reporting. But that's just what we would like to achieve in the first step until 2025. There's much more we can do. So second step is we include the data from the different sources. That's why we have a big advantage, because we are doing this based on our data mesh. We are consuming data from logistics, data from HR, data from finance, which is already there, which is already quality assured, which is already modeled. And we just bring that together in the sustainability data platform and define KPIs, but do much more for more detailed analysis. Because at the end, I mean, we want to become a data-driven company, but in addition, also we want to become a sustainable company. That's why this project is so important. And by doing this, we expect a significant competitive advantage, not only because our products are sustainable, but also the whole company is more sustainable. And so this will be really an advantage on the market. Why this is also important? Because by implementing the database, the data platform for sustainability data, in a third step, we are also adding or providing this data to AI and then implementing AI methods to even get more value out of the data and support or even propose decisions to our decision takers in the organization. So that the AI propose to a plant manager how to make his or her plant even more sustainable, or the logistics managers, so how to have the logistics supply chain more sustainable. And so data is really important to enable AI, but also the APIs are very important. And now I would like to emphasize, why data and APIs are so important for AI or Gen AI use cases. So basically, on top of this slide, you see a couple of Gen AI use cases we have just implemented in marketing and sales, but also in HR, on a software engineering domain. And basically, the feedback was, hey, we are really fast with those use cases because the data was already available. Just last week, I have seen a slide provided by Gartner, where they have asked CIOs and tech leaders in Europe and other regions, okay, do you think your data is ready for AI? just 4% of the CIOs and tech leaders said, yes, we have data which is ready for AI use cases. And I'm proud to say that Bosch is among the 4%. And I mean, just a side note, data consumption has increased by another 40% just because we are also providing data to those AI use cases. And now coming to my last slide, that's the key takeaways, which I would like to ask you to take with you. Basically, as Rainer mentioned at the beginning, Bosch is coming from a hardware manufacturer, mostly in the automotive area. I mean, we have already diversified into other domains besides automotive, and now we are going for the next step, becoming a digital company, becoming a data-based or data-driven company. That's why we as Bosch Digital, providing digital service to the organization is really becoming more important. Number of associates is growing, and the value add is also growing as well. Second, and this is referring to the slide with the iceberg, I am convinced that companies that leverage the full potential of their data assets will have good chances for a bright future. Others might have some risk to survive the next decades. And how to become a data-driven company? Technology is essential, as I said, but from my perspective, culture is key to enable the organization and also change the mindset of the organization to use data. And last point here is data is important to foster your AI use cases. APIs are important, and both are used as the solid foundation for current and future AI cases, and leverage the organization to use the full potential of our data assets, and doing this in a very flexible and autonomous way. Thank you.
If we have any questions about what we heard, I would have one single question. And how do you know that your data are AI ready unless you're using AI already?
We are already using it.
So that's the way how you know that. So if you're not using it, you wouldn't know if your data are ready for that, because that's like a circle.
I mean, there are certain preconditions for data to be used in a high value add way. That's a large coverage of the data. So really, in our case, covering everything what we do in the company worldwide. Second, quality assurance and making data available.
So if I meet those conditions, I can say that my data are AI ready, more or less.
At least these are the three major conditions which I see.
I mean, I would add to that. I think it also depends on the use cases, and we are just at the start of Gen AI use cases for the industry. What we see is that we are, I would say, well prepared, but we even don't know what's upcoming. So I think it's also there changing requirements, environments, and we will see if we are also next year ready. At the moment, we're pretty okay, but this might change again.
Yes. Any other questions from? Okay,
so
here.
I do have a question regarding the challenge you guys faced with the APIs, because we are currently trying to implement it, but I see already that we are not taking care of the major points you guys mentioned that was the challenge to you. Could you explain a little bit more what were the challenges you guys had and how to go through with it? Thank you.
Yeah, so I think one major challenge is the capabilities, also for the associates, in order to be ready to develop APIs in a proper way. So that's really an educational part, in my opinion. Second, we didn't have this API marketplace until May of this year, so there was even no opportunity. If you would like to expose your API, there was no place to do. So it was more a bilateral exchange of APIs. So you need this central transparency and technology in order to expose the APIs and that you consume it. Second, you need also some kind of management support, because usually for the developer itself, the API is maybe not that interesting, because so he has to spend, or she has to spend effort, but she does not, or he does not gain the value of it. So you have to have some backing and also some, I would say, funding in order to spend the effort in order to provide the API. So that's, again, a cultural topic where you need the support of your management. So that's basically the three top things. There are more, but yeah, if you're interested, we can also exchange on the booth, for example. Happy to do that.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, another one there. And
hello. How much you use federated concept, and did you use federated learning, federated concept you have in your?
Did you get it?
Could you repeat your question, please? I didn't get it.
How much did you use federated concept, federated learning?
Federated.
I think better come to our stall afterwards. At the Bosch booth, we have some experts, and then we're happy to discuss this question.
Thank you.
I think there was another one on the right side.
yeah, on the right side, yes.
So we are between the lunch, I would say.
Hi. Are you already looking towards data 4.0, and do you have your own personal opinion? What will it be? Thanks.
That's a very good question, very interesting question, but also a very tough question. It's always difficult to predict the future. From my feeling, I mean, we have arrived at data 3.0, but we still are in a settling down phase. And I mean, what comes next? I expect many more use cases in the AI domain. So I showed a couple of, but I expect many more. And also I expect much more penetration of the data mesh approach. And currently we have several data platforms which are connected in the data mesh, but still there are some, let's say, islands in the organization which we connect and then even emphasize the importance and the coverage of the red mesh.
Thank you. And another one here, please.
Hi, thanks a lot for your presentation. I have a question about data mesh. One part of a data mesh, as you mentioned, is the main teams. So the main and the main products. So there's a team, it has its own product, it has some backlog and tasks, and they hold the data. And some other teams need to add some functionality and new data to their teams. So they add this task. But this team, they already has like a huge task of their own. So how do you motivate them to hold their tasks and help to other teams? Because it's like a very common problem with data mesh.
We have established a data mesh governance and steering board. And one purpose here is to define the, let's say, limited set of rules, like how to ensure the interoperability between the data products. But the second part is also to set priorities. Priorities to us as a central team organizing the whole thing, but also defining priorities to the other domain teams, so that the, for example, finance team and the logistics team just align to each other, and then we can discuss in the larger round what is the priority, what is the highest priority.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no more questions, I can give you the certificates for.
Thank you.
For being. Oh, sorry. There was another one.
Can I? Yeah, it's just a follow-up from him. Do you also then use this steering committee to make sure that people are not doing the same thing twice? Because this is also something very complex in big organizations.
That's basically the objective.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether we are always successful, because at the end, I mean, we are really a large organization, and we are federated, but sometimes also a little bit too democratic organization. So it's always a challenge to set rules. And so at the end, I guess we can't avoid that, but at least it's our objective.
Okay, thank you.
This was a very honest answer.
Okay, we are 5 minutes into the lunch already, so you have about 55 minutes to finish it and come back here at 14:30. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.